housing, tax the rich, end the genocidal war on Gaza, no military aid, no occupation, bring down Trump, the billionaires, and their two parties, no more sellouts, we need a new party. We need to build our campaigns around things we agree on and that we can use to mobilize many thousands of people to fight for because they could make a real difference in their lives. Both Medicare for all and $25 an hour minimum wage and many of these other demands can inspire people to fight. And we must also keep our focus on ending the genocidal war on Gaza and the brutal occupation. It seems unlikely the current ceasefire will make it to the second phase, and already Israel has breached it multiple times. This is one of the worst genocides of our generation, and we must find every path to stop it. We need to build an international anti-war movement alongside an international workers' movement. We must refuse to support the boss's wars. And I mean both the war on Gaza and the bloody anti-imperialist war in Ukraine. No war but class war. Exactly. These conflicts are a product of the global capitalist crisis. We are entering into a new era of war, which comes out of the winding down of the era of neoliberal globalization, which was rooted in a world in which US imperialism was the undisputed power. That world is gone, replaced by the US-China global conflict, and with it, economic nationalism and proxy wars. The billionaires in different countries are increasingly locked in violent competition between each other, violence against, that we face. Imperialist war, including the horrific meat grinder taking place in Ukraine right now, is not in the interests of the working class, and we must reject it. The rich want us to offer up our corpses for the purpose of their fight over profits and resources. Neither Western imperialism nor Russian imperialism cares one bit for Ukrainian workers or Russian workers, neither does Zelensky. And not one more worker should be dying for Putin or Zelensky. As our friend said just now, the only war for us is class war. And we must support Ukrainian and Russian workers in their fight against their own capitalist classes in bringing down both Putin and Zelensky. That is a fight we should fully take on board.
We keep making the same mistakes over and over again, missing the forest for the trees. I appreciate the work you do. However, please allow me to express my frustration. Sadly, the words expressed at the podium, despite being inspirational at times, have a hollow, sucking sound. I have read a library of books, including books by the speakers on stage, about our predicament, solutions to our problems, and better ways to conduct our business. We have more experts on what's wrong with our world than ever before, and plenty of people with solutions. The American dream has always been a fantasy, despite the wealth the USA has generated since its founding. Wealth created through violence, exploitation, and ecocide. All colonial and imperial powers throughout history have contributed to the destruction of life. What kind of creators are we? Overshoot, ecocide, omnicide, neocolonialism, imperialism, inequality, global heating, etc. are results of our species' unique abilities to use tools to exploit nature and compete with each other for power, status, and control of resources. Rehashing the same old orations will not inspire domesticated and pacified people addicted to technology, entertainment, and supernormal stimuli who are energy blind, materials blind, great nature blind, stocks and flows blind, systems thinking blind, besieged by mysterious egregores, meme machines, false narratives, constant flows of propaganda, marketing, public relations messaging, and lies, to sacrifice an hour a week for vague notions of movements that consistently fail. The wealthy, powerful elite whose dark tetrad psychology and addiction to the 7 deadly sins designed, structured, and legally coded the system, its capital. The powerful elite own and operate our socioeconomic and political systems and regularly kill to maintain and keep them. This has been so since the dawn of civilization. The reactionaries know this. They understand power. Concerned citizens audit the conversations, read books, and get on with their business or struggle to survive another day. But that is not enough. If more than 1% of U.S. Americans want to build another socioeconomic system fit for posterity, they will have to fight and die for it. If we are too weak to act, circumstances, the most efficacious dictator, will determine what's next. Global fossil-fueled, financialized, modern industrial capitalism is a self-terminating system. It will collapse, destroying billions of lives while committing ecocide until its inevitable destructive end. Only exercising our will allows us to prepare for collapse and decide what's next. You cannot reform an omnicidal, pathological system. It must be destroyed and replaced with something else, something very few people can even imagine, much less adopt. We are true believers. It's easier to believe than to learn. Learning requires hard, disciplined work and sacrifice. We are not in control of the narrative. Even if we were, few would do the work necessary to create a new way of managing things. Talk is cheap, and billionaires control the narrative. Chris Hedges knows that believers cling to willful ignorance to fit in and haven't the wherewithal or energy to entertain alternatives. People are trained to fear and hate alternative ways of living. Look at the past 200 years of history. Haphazard and even organized resistance is constantly and violently put down. And despite our victories, things are more volatile, dangerous, and destructive than ever. Contemplate our ongoing polycrisis. It does not indicate progress, enlightenment, or a reflection of the better angels of our nature. We can't reform the system. Can we convince people to use less energy and consume less? Can we talk about degrowth? Can we discuss alternative kinds of growth in the mainstream media? Noam Chomsky encouraged us for decades by pointing out our relative freedoms and good fortune. To what end? Are we better off? Science, engineering, and technology have progressed. But what of our hearts and minds? What happened to our imagination? Must everything be commodified? The Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee? Read On the Abolition of All Political Parties by Simone Weil. I want to know what we replace global rapacious capitalism with. Would it be a simpler way, a la Ted Trainer? How do we maintain a healthy ecosystem at our current consumption and energy use scale? We can't. We haven't even begun to address energy use. Who knows what Jevons paradox is? Only a handful of us care. Who reads Václav Smil or pays attention to Howard T. Odum, William R. Cotton Jr., Charles A.S. Hall, or William Rees? What became of the Club of Rome's efforts? Quote, posterity doesn't vote and doesn't exert much influence in the marketplace, so the living go on stealing from their descendants. William R. Cotton Jr. How many generations will it take for people under more ideal circumstances to evolve into wise creatures capable of learning from and respecting great nature? Nature has all the answers. So, how shall we manage things? How shall we live and be? Can we convince people that epistemic rigor, critical thinking, wisdom, and love are more important than diversions, competition, and unquestioning belief? What way of life will replace markets, capital on capital returns, usury, and rent-seeking? People who are accustomed to consuming fantasy have little faith in reality. A reality-based, science-based, evidence-based, nature-centric culture founded on moral principles, life-based ethics, compassion, and love of life. What organization is creating that? And are its supporters willing to die for it? Life begets life. Life depends on complex living systems. Who understands thermodynamics? Even if billions of us understood, are we willing to sacrifice for posterity? We are more comfortable listening to speeches and discussing what's wrong with the world. Modern techno-industrial capitalism has the capacity to kill everything. Look up the acronym TESCREAL. TESCREAL. The elites don't respect nature or life. They'd instead turn us into machines or send us to heaven. Show us how we should live that's fit for life and posterity, and how we can sell the project to billions of people worldwide. Be honest about what we must sacrifice for a radically different way of managing our affairs.